Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am the CEO, co-founder, and president of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley. I'm a serial entrepreneur with 17 companies under my belt, and I've been blessed to be involved in two unicorns, Eva.ai and Click Software. So today we have a very, very special guest, the deep tech guru, Swati Chaturvedi. Swati has more deep tech experience than I think anybody that I've met in recent years. It's incredible. She's an IIT graduate, an MIT graduate, and is a co-founder and CEO of a company called PropelX, has been involved in a number of investment opportunities, and also as a consultant working for companies like Capgemini. So it's with that I'm going to bring Swati here. Hi, Swati.
Hi, Gary. Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure today.
Yeah, I got to tell you, Swati, I had a friend of mine from Silicon Valley, Frody, said, Swati's going to be on the show. She's the one that coined the term deep tech. Is that true?
That's kind. Well, yeah, I suppose we were the ones to first start using it. It's not it's nothing extraordinary in my view, but we started using the term because we had to somehow find a way to differentiate between all the tech startups and, the technology coming out of the labs and so on. So yeah, we started using the term way back in 2013, 2014 at the MIT Angels, and then at PropelX. So.
Wow, that's great. I was telling him, I said, Frody, I'm not worthy. It's incredible. So it's great to have you. So tell me, how do you go from Roorkee at IIT to Silicon Valley? What's that journey like?
Oh, it's long.
Well, we have some time today.
Okay. Well, yeah, sure. I'll walk you through that journey. So it has been a long journey, but I came here. I did my undergraduate back in India, of course, like you mentioned, at one of the IITs at Roorkee. And then I came here for my graduate studies. I went to Berkeley. Then I went to MIT for my master's at the Engineering Systems Division. Graduated from there, became a management consultant, ended up doing quite a bit in investing as a consultant. So I went back to MIT Sloan to get my MBA, which I did in 2011, and I started my journey in investing at that time. And I started first with Temasek, where I did my summer. So it's kind of like a quasi hedge fund. It's a sovereign wealth fund. I worked at Siemens Venture Capital for a bit in Boston. I worked at Exogen Capital, a private equity firm here in San Francisco Bay Area. And having done all that, I realized, oh my gosh, my interest, my passion really is startups. Not just startups, but companies that are leveraging scientific and technological advances to impact humankind. And that's what I started calling deep technology startups at that time, companies that are founded on scientific or engineering breakthroughs. And the more we looked, the more I felt I wanted to participate, be an angel investor maybe. And the more I looked, I went to various angel groups, and I didn't quite find what I was looking for because everything was social, local, mobile at that time. Mm-hmm. So I started the MIT Angels here in the Silicon Valley Bay Area, the Silicon Valley chapter. That was the first ever group of MIT Angels, believe it or not. And we focused that on deep technology startups. We got a lot of deal flow from MIT, expanded into Stanford, Berkeley, and so on. And we grew that to be one of the larger groups, probably the largest in the Silicon Valley Bay Area. And now we have chapters all over the country. Having done that, I realized, okay, there is a tremendous need here. There is a tremendous gap. Here are all these companies, amazing technologies coming out of the top universities, top research labs, finding it hard to raise financing in their earliest days, right? And that's when I started PropelX as a way to enable these startups to raise financing from accredited investors worldwide. So that's what I do now. PropelX is an investment platform where we find all these unique companies. We put them on the platform. Investors can look through them, browse through them, attend our investor calls, ask their questions, having done their diligence, if they choose to invest, they can do so online. So that's what we do. We make it super easy. Hopefully, I hope by an online process, minimums are low, $5,000. And as you know, Gary, these days, everyone wants to be in alternatives. So that's what we do today.
No, that's great. So, okay, so you studied technology and policy at MIT. You did you went for your master's. I mean, you got a lot of master's degrees, 3 master's degrees.
Yes.
Studying or what? Wait, I got it. Did you just like to study and say, I got to do another master's degree? I've gone down and done Berkeley. Now I got to go MIT. What's that like?
Oh, no. Believe it or not, it was life circumstances that led me to MIT, because my boyfriend at that time, husband now, was going to MIT. I was like, okay, that's I should probably figure out ways to join him. So I went there. I applied. I was fortunate in that I was admitted. So I went there. But I have to say, it was a changing experience. I think MIT as a place is a life-changing experience. In every corridor, there's something that you learn new about science or the history of science. In every cafeteria, every building, the buildings are also numbered; they're not named. So there's something different about MIT, and it was amazing. So that was my master's, which I truly enjoyed, loved, fell in love with science, discovered a lot, and here I am today. Yeah.
Wow.
I need to agree with
That's funny. What's the difference between MIT and Stanford? So they don't have numbered buildings, right? They got named buildings. You deal with Stanford. I'm curious from your perspective, because I have one of my portfolio companies run by a Stanford MBA, Indian Stanford MBA actually, and I'm just curious, what's the difference?
Oh my gosh, Stanford is luxury, right?
MIT is luxury too, isn't it?
Oh no. We pride ourselves on our down market appearance. I'm. If you don't know the culture of MIT, that's kind of important. That you should not be that a little bit shabby. I mean, it's the chic shabby. It's the MIT shabby.
The chic.
What
does that mean? A pair of sandals, but they got to be Birkenstock or what?
No, not at all. Not at all. No. I think MIT people are very down to it. Least concerned about appearance, if anything, right? Mm-hmm. So the motto is Mets et manus, which is mind and hand. So it's really about doing things. It's about engineering, creating things. Mm-hmm. I of course, I've never been to Stanford. I've been around it, and I certainly work with companies from there. Truly great companies, great atmosphere, great everything. But I know MIT from the inside. So just sharing a little bit that it's really about putting mind and hand together, building things, creating things. That's the motto. So
no, that's really interesting. And the one thing I got to tell you, I worked up in Boston for a while and spent a lot of time up there. There is a difference, the weather. I can tell you, I was going on Route 128. I thought, this really sucks. The weather is really bad. I don't care what schools are there. It really, and being out in California, I understand that weather is really truly a driving force of our behavior, and having incredible weather, temperate climates is really important. Actually, for me, I guess being having Greek a background is probably I'm accustomed to, but I love it. I don't know about you, but really.
Yeah, for sure. For me, that's why I'm here. That's why I moved to California. It was for the weather, and that's why I don't leave it. I mean, I love the culture also now. Having been here, I love it. I would never go back to the East Coast only because of the weather. But aside from that, there is a vibe about the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm sure you felt it, right? It's about innovation. It's about startups. It's about exciting new horizons and being fearless and exploring them. So that's what I really love about the SF Bay Area. And you meet so many interesting people. Every day, it's someone doing something new. And that's, especially in my kind of line of work, I feel like I meet these amazing people every day. And I love it. I love it.
Yeah, you never know who you're going to meet. I know when I go down to the Starbucks in El Camino, Tim Cook's in there. And
Yes, I would.
I don't know if you've seen him too. It's like, "Hi Tim, how are you?" And it's not like, or the restaurant in San Mateo that Zuckerberg hangs out at, and I've seen him there.
Oh, is that right? I did not know.
Yeah, I've seen him and his wife Priscilla in there. It's just interesting. It's interesting who you meet and the energy. Although I got to tell you, right now I'm down in my house in Palm Beach in Florida, and I've been down here before COVID because I decided I was going to ride it out here.
Yeah.
But there's something going on. I don't know exactly what it is, but I can tell you there are a lot of interesting people in tech that are coming here. And, partly because of the tax issues, it's a lot cheaper. There's no state income tax.
Yeah.
And they're building a community. Where it'll go, I don't know exactly. But I can tell you it's incredible the kind of people that I'm seeing here now.
No, I agree with you. So that is one gripe I have against California, which is everything's becoming harder. Commute is becoming harder. Getting a house is becoming harder for ordinary people. Just cost of living is harder. Everything is harder, and taxes are harder. Despite the taxes, schools aren't great. So it starts kind of piling up. And that's when you start thinking, oh yeah, it wouldn't be bad to move to Texas. I've honestly very seriously thought of moving to Austin. My brother is there, and I've tried to persuade my company and my team members, hey, let's move to Austin. No taxes, no state taxes, and so on. But I guess people are married to the SF Bay Area. What can one do?
Austin's nice. I got to tell you, Austin's a nice place too. I bought this place down in Florida. The intention was not to be here permanently. The intention was to have a place where it's warm. I just got locked in here during COVID and I couldn't get out. So anyhow.
Oh no, Florida is a happening place. One of our companies is one of our flagship companies, the number 4 company on PropelX. It's located in Florida. And at that time, I think, when we started PropelX several years back, it was harder to get financing in Florida. I think that has completely changed now. I hear of new hedge funds starting in Florida every day. I'm not sure so much about the venture capital scene for now, but you tell me. I think the VC scene must be picking up as well. But there was this company, doing great things and now highly valued. So they're building a robot for dental surgery. And for surgical robots are pretty common for orthopedics, but hasn't been done for dental. So we discovered them in Florida. We helped them raise financing from California, actually, initially. Introduced them to some VCs there. Peter Thiel's Mithril Capital invested in them. And now they're they're rising like a rocket. I'm so happy about that. But yeah, I'm curious to understand better about the venture capital scene, the startup scene in Florida. I know it's picking up in other places which have tax favorable environments. So that I do think California needs to change or improve.
No, I agree with you. I mean, it's picking up. We're doing a lot of work all over the planet now. I'm in Africa, all over Africa. Nigeria, we have an office. Rwanda, Zambia, Kenya, different places. And working with AI companies, by the way.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And do you see a lot of AI companies emerging from these areas?
Surprisingly. I mean, the one thing is you got to, it's like when I first went to Russia, you got to be a little bit brave. I went in the early 90s and it's not for everybody. So I'm not used to that kind of environment. And I'm not saying that's, always dangerous, that kind of thing, but it's just culturally different and you got to be prepared for it. So yes, there's a lot of opportunity. There's 1.3 billion people.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we're looking for companies all over the world. And, one of the reasons we focus on Africa is that we believe that intellectual capacity is evenly distributed around the world, but opportunities aren't.
Yeah.
And somebody's got to make a dent in the universe, a little bit of a difference. And if we can go down and curate companies, not based on entitlement, but based on really finding some opportunities, yes, it's a little bit different to do it, but yeah, they're there. They're actually all over.
That's impressive.
So it's not tapped. And, we want one of the, things, being a Santa Clara based company ourselves, one of the things is to go out there and physically reach out to those folks. We do a lot of, we go down physically, We're going to Nigeria again in a few weeks to actually present and get tied into the ecosystem. So, yeah, it's a vibrant, and if we can make a little dent in the universe, Swati, I know we talk about that, but really, if we can create some jobs and help people feed their families and use the technology, as you said, your MIT motto, it's really about how can we make the world a better place, through artificial intelligence and quantum and all that. So anyhow, that's where we're going. But this show's about you, and I don't want to waste the time because you got a really exciting. So tell me a little bit about PropelX and the kind of things you're doing, and where do you see that going, and the kind of companies that you're working with today.
Yes, absolutely. So, like I said, PropelX is an online investment platform. We enable accredited investors worldwide to invest in startups online, and our focus is deep technology startups. So typically our companies are, they come out of labs, they're based on years of R&D, very often funded by the government. So believe it or not, and I think Silicon Valley disregards it or writes it off or takes it for granted, but the government is the seed funder of America. And most of our companies, most of the deep tech companies are backed by the government at their earliest stages. So I find that very impressive. I think that is a fact that needs to be out there. People need to know that. And so whether every department has their own SBIR program and they invest in these companies collectively about $2.5 to $3 billion.
About the FBIR, because I have viewers from all over the world. They
so the SBIR program, that's the Small Business Innovation and Research Program. Okay. So every government department, whether it's Department of Defense, Department of Energy, all of them have a budget, and a portion of the budget is expected to go into R&D, and they use that to invest in these companies. So collectively, the government invests about $2.5 to $3 billion every year in small companies, small businesses like this. So they support these companies through their initial phases at universities, at accelerators and such. And when these companies are ready to commercialize, even then, through the phase 2 programs, the government gives matching funding. So if the companies are able to raise private financing, the government gives 50 cents to the dollar in funding. In many cases, different programs. So we get a lot of companies that have been backed initially in the initial stages by the government, but also from a lot of referrals from venture capitalists. I mean, that's our main source of high quality deal flow. We love to work with VCs, and we also work quite a bit with corporate VCs. So we do everything from seed. We're stage agnostic. It's a platform. Our job is to connect these deep tech companies that want capital with the investors, right? So we work with VCs of all stripes, smaller venture capitalists who refer us deals. So let's say it's a $3 million round, initial seed round, small round. They'll put in the 2 million, we can top it up. Same way it goes on, Series A's, Series B's. We work with a lot of corporate VCs. We just closed a round in a company led by Omron Ventures. Omron, you may know, is one of the largest medical device companies.
Yeah, I've had discussion with them recently myself on some.
There you go. You go. So this was a Series B round for a company that was that helps you figure out whether each individual is antibiotic resistant or not, right? Avails Medical. Now, the problem that they're solving is that normally it takes days for these tests to happen and for the doctors to be able to prescribe the right kind of antibiotics. And this company can help you do that in a matter of a day, in hours rather than days. So that is a breakthrough technology company that we help finance. We've worked with other corporate VCs, and so one of our companies was a sensor data company. So they preserve data integrity of all sensors. As you may know, everything is IoT today, right? Imagine a utility with so many endpoints, and each of them has sensors in it, which are collecting data, collecting information every day about usage. And that is pretty sensitive information. And it has happened that these data streams have been infiltrated and faked and so on. And that's how you attack these networks. So this company monitors the data streams continuously. And if there's an anomaly, it will highlight that so that you know immediately that something's going on. It may be that the sensor is faulty, but it may be that someone's actually trying to attack your network. So again, so this was Aperio Systems. We did their Series Seed, and then we participated in their Series A as well. The Series A was led by National Grid, one of the largest utilities in the country. So like I was saying, we work with corporate VCs on the Series A's and B's. We love to participate in those rounds, but also early stage, late stage, all kinds. And then we work with all kinds of instruments, starting with SAFE. And I guess there are people from all over the world. So I should mention that the way to invest in a startup or in a startup company, there's different ways to invest. You can just get stock, common stock. That's like the basic thing. But typically, because you're taking higher risk, so you get preferred stock, which means you have seniority and other rights relative to common and so on. So we do all kinds of instruments. We've done debt, we've done equity of all kinds, and we participate in all kinds of stages. But the key thing is we work with deep tech companies. These are companies that are leveraging advances in science and technology to have an impact on the world, to make our lives better. We just closed one financing round. We're still in the process, so I can't reveal the name of the company, but they're finding ways to create productivity or create fertility in soil without using fertilizers. So it's a way to make our food better. It's a way to increase the productivity of soil, to grow more per square meter of soil that we're using. So these are the kinds of companies we work with. Very proud that they actually go out and have an impact on the world.
No, well, it's important. If we look at the population of the planet, it's currently 8.1 billion. By the end of the century, it's going to be 13. By 2050, we're going to have to double the amount of food that we produce in order to be able to feed the population. And if you look at, the problem with livestock and pollutants, right? There's 26% of the pollution is from livestock. So if we double it, nothing good's going to happen. So we've got to figure out how to go from, plant-based protein, and we got to do it sooner than later. So these kind of things, I agree with you 100%. We're talking about that. We're talking about the environment and the challenges we have with global warming. We're talking about space and, the next frontier, 6 billion Earth-like planets in the Milky Way, 200 trillion galaxies estimated in the universe.
I did not know that number.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with a couple of scientists worldwide and quantum physicists. So we have these discussions pretty regularly. It's very interesting using artificial intelligence, an intelligent assistant, be able to. So if you're talking about going to Mars, it's in a year journey. There's all kinds of. One is you got medical. The other thing is you've got the mental. Right, it's to be cooped up in a small place for a year is not going to be one of the most exciting times you've ever had.
Yeah.
So European Space Agency's developed some interesting technology, but you're right. Look at the world around us. There's 49 zettabytes of data on the planet today. Yeah. If you took a CD and stacked one on top of another, that would go 35 times between the Earth and the Moon, and it grows at 68% per year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. So what you're doing is fantastic. I've been saying this for some time too. My background's AI, 34 years worth of, I came out as a psychologist, a little bit different, but it's the time is now. We're inundated with information. Think about it. Swati, so here you are, an MIT graduate, right? Double or triple MIT? Are you triple MIT?
No, only 2 times.
Okay. I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That was Berkeley.
Yes.
I made a mistake. I'm not worthy. I don't know what to say. But, if we look at it today, I mean, think about in your own personal cloud. And here's an amazing thing. You have over 300,000 items in your personal cloud. The entire amount of websites in the World Wide Web was 257,000 in 1996. Your own personal cloud, Swati, is bigger than that. The problem is it's doubling every year. In 5 years with the Internet of Things, you're going to have 10 million items. Think about it. How many times a week does somebody say to you, Swati, did you get my message? Where did you send it? Send it to your email. Which email address? Did you send it to Propel? No, I sent it to MIT, your EDU address.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. When did you send it? 2 weeks ago. Can you resend it? Right?
Exactly.
Isn't it bizarre?
Correct.
And so, actually, just FYI, I actually developed with one of my companies a tool but people weren't ready to buy it at the time. That would go down and do a Google-like search of all your data repositories, because this is a huge problem. And we are in a state of infobesity. And I've been talking about that a lot too. Toffler coined it in the 70s. I use it a lot today because that's where we are. We're inundated.
Yeah. No, I agree. And there has to be, and that's why AI is coming into its own now, because you have so much data to work on. There's so much training data, right? Whatever algorithms you develop, you have enough data and then some to train any kinds of AI. So that's why I believe AI is coming into its own. It used to be all about big data. Big data was the buzzword, just a few years back, maybe 5-6 years. I date myself. But point is that used to be the buzzword, but now it's about AI, because you have that ready to be used, to be analyzed, to train your AIs and so on. So it's a big deal. And I do think everything will be very personalized. Already you see, everything from ads are super personalized to you, to everything else in life. Medicine is personalized. I think a few years back, I had looked at FDA data. Over 40% of the applications were around personalized medicine. I think that's very, very important, because every human being is different. Now you have so much data on genome, right? And every individual genome can be sequenced now. It used to cost, the equivalent of $1 trillion to sequence a genome long time back. And now it's what, $1,500 on 23andMe. So there's a vast amounts of data, and that has to be harnessed, that has to be utilized for moving us along, for moving us into the better. And I do think there are these big challenges that science can help solve. So I think one big area is healthcare. So life science is what we call. The other big area is energy, right?
Yeah.
The other big area is 100%. Food. And then space, right? So these are the big problems that we have to use science to solve. And data is pretty critical to all of them, whether it's life sciences, understanding what kind of medications to give people, understanding how they got where they got, and how you can change the lifestyle. So a bunch of things that's going on in life science, especially at the intersection of biology and computer science. That's where a lot of the innovation is happening. Same way in growing, whether it's food or whatever, there's so much IoT in agriculture. So ag tech has become a thing over the past several years, where every single irrigation sprinkler is being tracked. And
farming 4.0.
Yes.
We're working on drones, we're working on fertilizers, we're working on, from the farm to the table. I mean, the situation is things got to change.
Yes.
We got to make it highly efficient. And you're right. I've been writing a lot in Forbes about hyper-personalization and artificial intelligence, the next generation. I've also been writing about not smart, but intelligent assistants. I really think that, you're right on target, but it goes back to the data. The challenge is we got to do something, because the future, in 100 years with 13 billion people on the planet, and then you forecast it forward, the population of the world has quadrupled in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Most people don't realize it.
Yeah.
And, look at, I worked on a weather forecasting with a weather forecasting company. He was, Dr. Crick was originally from Caltech, studied at Princeton, and did a nonlinear weather forecasting model that looked at weather's patterns over time. And we were talking about global warming in the 90s. And he was telling me it was going to happen. And I was like, yeah, right, Dr. Crick, right. And I mean, I didn't say it like that because this guy's a genius, but I went down through, and when I studied the models, it was unbelievable, the kind of things that are going to happen. So we got to make a dent in the universe. We got to, one thing, Swati, I don't know about you, but during this pandemic, we've had to understand it's not all about, we couldn't even get a roll of toilet paper, for God's sakes.
Well, I will say that was a man-made or whatever, an artificially created supply constraint, because there was no constraint. I think people just it's psychology. It's psychology.
Well, you have psychology on one side, and then you have just-in-time inventory, because part of the problem is you get 24 rolls of toilet paper that don't cost that much to take a lot of stock area, right? Yeah. So there was all kinds of issues. Then you could talk about meat, production and the challenges around that. The supply chain. We just need transparency in the supply chain. And that's where we start to use artificial intelligence to analyze those kind of things. But you're right about it. What it is really connecting the dots together. What's happening, Swati, from my perspective, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we are connecting, everything's being connected together as one. So here I am in agriculture, here's my health. This is kind of things that I need to eat. This is how I can get it hyper personalized to me. Here's my genes. This what can be taken out. I remember the beginning of the pandemic, I was asked to be on a panel. There were some discussions between scientists, bench scientists, and artificial intelligence. Why they asked me, I have no idea. I'm not an MIT person. I'm just a country boy. But they asked me to be on a panel. And I said, listen, if you don't use artificial intelligence and quantum, right, to go down through drug discovery, and I went down into some detail, you're not going to be able to do it. It takes 12 years to develop a drug.
So that I will also agreed. Oh, you're so on point. So AI for drug discovery. I mean, it's been a thing since the past 10 years, since I've been in this business. And before, I knew companies that were trying to, or scientists that were trying to find ways to develop, to find new drugs, to identify new drug targets way back when I was at MIT.
Mm-hmm.
And today that's happening. It's just happening with much greater success today.
Mm-hmm.
These things take time to develop, but that's exactly what it is. There's so much data out there. We helped invest in one company. So one of the problems, you can certainly find the candidates and so on. One of the problems that happens is a lot of it is theory in the lab and on your computers and so on, and a lot of it goes wrong in the clinical trials. And that's also where we can change things. So one of the companies we helped finance, so Z Predictor, it's called a YC company actually. They grow tissue, like real live tissue, models of tissue, so that you can create a live environment out of the body for the drug to interact with and see how it would work in that environment, right? So then
that's very cool. That's really cool.
Because half the things that go wrong are the minute you place it in a live environment. I mean, it's all good in the lab. The minute you place it in a live environment, the drug acts in ways that are unexpected. Mm-hmm. And so now you're taking out even more of the uncertainty from all of this, right? So that you use AI to identify the right drug targets, and you're really able to pinpoint, here's the 3 instead of the 3,000. You put them into this artificial environment, which really replicates the live environment. That's when you know, and that's when you know that the drugs you're putting into trials, these are more likely than not to succeed, much more likely than before, right? So we're it's really about leveraging data to eliminate uncertainty, to understand our own environments better, and so on. So
I agree. I think we're finally not only to leverage the data, but to use machine learning, artificial intelligence to understand the data, and in an unsupervised way start to do something about it. Because at a point, we're not going to be able to control it anymore. It's not going to be in our realm, because we're going to be, in that state of infobesity that's really beyond us. So we got to start looking. It's very interesting, actually, the future. So, I wanted to say we're coming into the top of the hour. It's been fascinating, Swati. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule. I know you got a lot of things going to be on my show today. So in final thoughts, what are your, prediction for the next year for startups, for investors that are interested in deep tech? What do you see happening, and what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Oh, absolutely. So reach out to me, Swati at Propelx, SWATI at PROPELX.com. So that's the easy way. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Twitter. I'm not as much on Twitter as on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is great for me. In terms of predictions, I think for the next year, we're still not out of the pandemic. So there's a lot going on. In this past year, we helped finance a number of companies that are impacting the pandemic, helping us work through this. We did a vaccine company, Aegis. They have just started their clinical trials. We did a testing company. We did a bunch of remote kind of work companies that help you put these things together in perspective. There were all kinds of disasters. If you know the California wildfires, we did a company that helps with that. So I think these trends at all times, science is solving these problems, right? We identified life science, we identified food, energy, transportation. These are the big problems. And all of these have been exacerbated by this whole COVID situation, right? So that's the macro trend that is impacting everything that's going to happen in the next year, right? So everything remote, anything that's remote, that becomes important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remote work, remote meetings, all of that is relevant. Mental health, anything that's mental health in this situation is important. Anything that's still to do with vaccines, especially low cost production of vaccines to help these countries, like you said, Africa and so on. Low cost production and low cost storage. We can't have anything like the Pfizer vaccine, which needs to be stored at these minus whatever degrees centigrade. It needs, so DNA based vaccines. That's the company we helped raise financing for. Why DNA? DNA is super hardy. It can survive through eons, millennia, and through all kinds of temperature and so on. So, so things like that, I think, are still going to be important in the next year. Things to do with life sciences, with healthcare, with mental health, with remote work. Better quality of video, better quality of audio, all of that will continue to be important. And then think about the storage that's going on in the cloud. Every meeting is being now stored in the cloud,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let's think about video analytics, audio. I mean, we can just keep extending that. So it's endless. So these trends are now really coming to the fore. And I'm excited about our future, because I think I'm very optimistic. I'm very energized by the fact that science has always found a solution to all of our problems. And so I'm optimistic moving forward. I do believe things will be good. I think the next few years are better than the last few years.
No, it's great, and I think you're right. You can see it. I don't know what it's like in Actually, I'll be in California on Saturday, but for the first time in a year. But
Okay.
so my car is on the street. It's I couldn't get out to do anything. I so didn't put it in the garage, and it's thank God it's still there. But anyhow, we've been through a lot. The world's been through a lot. I participated myself in about 600 podcasts during the pandemic, and part of the reason is to bring some hope and just to help, to connect the startup community around the world together. It's been really interesting, and it's interesting that we don't just look out. We need to look in, and we understand our vulnerabilities now with the pandemic. Because I don't know about you, but families get hit. Yeah. Our family got hit with somebody passing away because of COVID. So, we understand that we need to be able to help each other make a dent in the universe, and we need to work together. It's not about, just about what it's in it for you. It's about how can we make a little dent and a little impact. And you've said it eloquently today. So I appreciate that. To my audience, I want to say thank you very much for joining our episode today. Another edition of GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. My name is Gary Fowler, and I am your host. I will be back again next Tuesday with another exciting edition. And Swati, I want to say thank you for taking time. It's great to see you. I'm going to say to my audience, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. We're thinking about you, and join us again next week. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.